What's up, everyone? Kevin Allen here, aka the Geek from DFS Army, and this is our NFL Week 3 weekend review. We're going to take a look at what won the Millie Maker on DraftKings in Week 3. We're going to take a look at we're going to go over some hot takes from the week in general that we're going to carry forward. And of course, we're going to take a look at cash games in Week 3, cash lineups, how were they constructed, how we could have gotten to them, what won, and all of that good stuff. So stick around. We're about to get into it. All right, like with every week, before we move on to NFL Week 4, it's really important to go back to Week 3, see what we can glean from the week, see what we can learn, what we can take away, help our DFS game going forward. And one of the big takeaways from Week 3 is, wow, low scoring. One of the lowest scoring weeks I can ever remember of DFS, ever. Like that, we basically broke a record. Take a look at what won the DraftKings Millionaire Maker. This is a 210. So this score is just massively below what we're used to seeing. We've seen Millie Makers go as high as 270, 280, more average in the 260 range. A 210 takes out the Millie Maker this week. I mean, you're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of entries here. So really interesting, and it makes it feel like it was very winnable. And we're going to go over this lineup, but before we get into that, I want to first go into the takeaways from NFL Week 3, and then we're going to get into what cash games look like, and then we'll get to the tournament build. So starting with some takeaways from Week 3, and I wrote down a couple little things here, but on the Bears side, David Montgomery gets hurt. Khalil Herbert comes in, looks amazing. Herbert looks like a top DFS play this week if Montgomery remains out. He's actually fairly cheap and with a good matchup, so he's going to be the chalk probably, assuming Montgomery is out, which is not something we can automatically assume, but I'm just doing that because it is Monday and who knows. And just generally with the Bears, this passing offense is disaster. Darnell Mooney, dead to me. Cole Kmet, dead to me. Fields, dead to me. Cannot touch those guys in DFS until further notice. Texans, Dameon Pierce comes out. We liked him this week going into the game, taking on the Bears, and he looked legit out there, got most of the carries. He should actually be a playable piece he looked like a real NFL running back. It didn't look anything like he didn't belong. So I think Dameon Pierce is for real, but he will need game scripts to go in his favor. So we'll keep that in mind with Dameon Pierce and the Texans. On the Bills, Devin Singletary, 11 targets. What the fuck? That's all I got to say. What the fuck? Like, I don't know what's going on with the Bills, but running back situation, but who the hell was thinking about playing Devin Singletary? Let's see if, last season, Devin Singletary just took over the job like at some point, and then he had great fantasy production. I don't know. Maybe it'll happen again. I don't know. Jets, if you're playing season long, you want to grab Tyler Conklin. This guy's averaging 8 targets per game at the tight end position. That's pretty freaking good. Proceed with caution across the board for all of the Jets, as Zach Wilson is supposed to return, and they're the Jets. I've told you this before. Be careful with the Jets. They're not a good fantasy offense. Vikings, Dalvin Cook gets hurt in game. Doesn't seem too serious, but Alexander Madison's season is always a beautiful thing because Madison does not have a vulture the way that Cook has Madison. So for as long as this goes on and Madison's the starter for this team, we're going to be interested. For the Saints, Olave broke out. Kid looks amazing. Rookie breakout. The old guys get hurt. Nothing serious, but the injuries happened late in the game. Landry and Michael Thomas come out of the game, but it didn't matter. Olave is for real, and that trend should continue. Washington Commanders, Curtis Samuel, cheat code status maintained. We bet the over 4.5 reception prop. That was one of the easiest bets I've ever had to place on a sports book. It cashed easily, and Samuel, I believe, had 7 targets or 7 receptions in the game. Anytime you're averaging that many receptions until the salary significantly comes up, you're going to be a cheat code. I played Curtis Samuel in cash, as you will see momentarily. Eagles look amazing, poised to win the NFC East, a legit contender to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. Gotta love that. Kansas City, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Bit of fool's gold going on. He keeps putting up good numbers at very low volume. That is not going to continue. That is just cannot continue. 7 carries, 0 yards, but got a goal line touchdown. Got a few targets, I think 4 targets. The CEH is somebody I'm looking to trade or get rid of or just not have confidence in. The DFS salary keeps going up because he keeps producing, but I think that's fool's gold. I am not going to be chasing that. Trevor Lawrence on the Jaguars looks like a legit NFL quarterback. We talked about Zay Jones on the cheat sheet this past week. He smashed. He got us 11 targets, absolutely crushed it. We had a bunch of great calls on the cheat sheet, which I'll go over. Unfortunately, no one nailed everything because it's the lowest scoring week ever in DFS, but we nailed Mac Hollins. We nailed Zay Jones. We nailed Olave. We really hit a lot of these cheapies that worked out. It's just the expensive guys burned a lot of lineups. A couple other minor ones here. Packers, with all the injuries at wide receiver, Romeo Dubes actually was the guy in this game. 8 receptions, 73 yards, and a touchdown. He is on the can play him week to week radar. And finally, Bucks, Brady, unstartable without his key wide receivers. That won't last long. Mike Evans will be back. And of course, Russell Gage had a pretty good week. He was popping on the optimizer for DFS Army. And Leonard Fournette still getting all the touch volume, but just has not put together a great game. So those are my basic takeaways from NFL Week 2. And let's go to cash lineups here and just take a look at, first I'm going to show you my cash lineup. I want to show you how I got there. I'm going to show you some DFS Army tools. And I've been using this one person as a perfect example, this 000 Princess account. Anytime you see numbers in front of a name, that person is like a head-to-head specialist. They used to put the zeros in front of their name so you would pop to the top of the list when you left your head-to-heads in the lobby. The second giveaway for this person, Princess, again, dudes who want to appear non-threatening, use an effeminate name on their DraftKings account to make it the morons think they're going up against a woman who they perceive as less good at DFS than a man. There's so many things going on there that I don't want to unravel, but that is the psychology of this person's DraftKings name, most likely. And if you take a look at what I did, now this was my cash lineup for NFL. Week 3. Sorry, I had to sneeze there. Couldn't pause it, so just took myself off the screen. But this is my lineup for NFL Week 3. You're going to see what I'm going to call the chalk approach, sort of I'm not going to say the chalk, the sharp approach to building a lineup was. And we had essentially figured this out on the Player Club, what the general approach to cash games in NFL Week 3 was going to be. And I'm going to show you a little bit of the tools at DFS Army that also helped get us there. We have, of course, the chalkboard that tells you who the chalk is. And we could see very obviously that the 2 top quarterbacks and the 2 cash game quarterbacks were going to be either Allen or Jalen Hurts. That was correct. You had your 3 primary running backs, which essentially what everybody used: David Montgomery, Leonard Fournette, Joe Mixon. There were a couple of pivots. So if you didn't want 3 running backs, you could use one could have used any 2 of these 3. And Dameon Pierce was a reasonable candidate as well because he was so cheap, just as a punt running back. Taking a look over at the wide receiver position, you see Stephon Diggs, Amon-Ra, Curtis Samuel. So, those are the 3 that I used, right? They're right there being spelled out. These tools just spell out how to build your cash lineup. It's like, all right, Jalen Hurts, Montgomery Fournette, Diggs, Amon-Ra, Curtis Samuel, fine. Irv Smith at tight. I mean, this literally spells it out. Carolina Panthers defense, very easy, right? Jaguars defense came into play late because people thought that Herbert was going to be out and then he was back in. But Jaguars defense became a popular play late. But Panthers did even better than the Jaguars, who did just fine as well. Now, if you take a look at my cheat sheet from NFL Week 3, where is that? You'll see that I had a couple of players. Now, if you take a look, this is a cheat sheet that DFS Army premium subscribers get from me every single week, and one of the tools amongst the very many that we provide for our premium subscribers. So if you take a look at my cheat sheet for the week, I had 2 quarterbacks marked as all plays. All includes cash games. That's, allowed for cash essentially. And we had Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. So, pretty much what you're seeing on the chalkboard. We had the same group of running backs pretty much marked for all formats. So, it's a pretty easy path to finding a cash lineup. We like Cooper Kupp if you can afford him. We like Jefferson, who failed, if you could afford him. Devontae Adams, of course. I was not as high on Stephon Diggs, but Curtis Samuel, core play at his price, cash play, everything. And the big one for me was, we were on Mac Hollins and Zay Jones as all formats plays. These were 2 of the smashes of the slate. We're also on Chris Olave here, as you could see, had him as a play as well. So we did nail, for the most part, all the best plays, or a lot of the really, really good plays. And with Zay Jones and Mac Hollins, we had them pegged as, or I had them pegged as cash playable options. We also talked about Devontae Parker and a couple other of the Patriots wide receivers in DFS Army Discord the morning of, when we found out Jacoby Myers was out. So again, going back to my lineup, I just want to show what I did. And it's funny because I tried to get cute here, and this time it burned me, but I would almost do it again. Like, I don't regret it so much as it just didn't work. So what I did was, we had already deciphered during the Players Club VIP podcast on Saturday what the approach that most people would use in cash games were. We already knew it. We knew they were going to use one of Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts. We knew that Montgomery and Fournette were the 2 guys that everybody was playing at running back. We talked about Mac Hollins being a great punt to allow you to do some things with the rest. Of course, I've got my personal cheat code cash game play of Curtis Samuel, which I try to squeeze in there each week. And it's the Curtis Samuel play that allowed me to get a little cute. So if you take a look at the lineup I wound up using versus essentially what was the chalkiest lineup, my lineup ended up cashing just under the cash line. So I got about 80% of my money back that I put out there. So I just missed the cash line. At 139, hitting this would have been an easy cash across the board, or really this would have been probably getting back about 150%. So you would have made a nice little profit had you used the standard sharp cash lineup for the week. The big difference here in getting cute was, I said, all right, since I wanted Curtis Samuel, I figured I could go down and save essentially against this T. Higgins spot. I saved 1,000. And then by going down a little bit more from chalk Panthers to also chalky Jaguars defense, I was able to upgrade from Leonard Fournette to Joe Mixon. So I was able to add about 1,000 in salary and make that adjustment. Unfortunately, Fournette outscored Joe Mixon. And of course, Panthers defense outscored Jaguars defense. So that 300 savings did not help us. I would do that again. This extra 1,100 in spend actually hurt us. So in the end of the day, I got a little cute because I tried to not just play the most obvious cash lineup, but make one little twist, hopefully be able to beat these guys. This time it came back to beat me. Didn't matter. I didn't lose too much money in cash, got most of it back because I primarily play head-to-head contests, and I strongly recommend that you guys do that as well. Head-to-heads are where it's at, especially if you limit it to only one opponent. And if you don't normally play, if you aren't, a high-volume shark, you should be maxing out the $1 and $2 or $1 and $3 levels that keep high-volume players like myself blocked out. I cannot enter anything under $5 in cash, so you should be doing everything under $5. So you don't want to run into Princess. This lineup is good. Like, this guy knows how to build a cash lineup. No, it's not easy money. There's no point in trying to run into people like that. You want to run into people who don't know how to make a cash lineup, of which there are tons, especially at the sub $5 levels. So that was basically it. It's a high chalk cash lineup. And the only different, if you just looked at the chalkboard, it took you right to the standard lineup that Princess had and anybody in the DFS army could have had pretty easily. I actually looked at the Dom Station as well. And if you, kind of give the original lineup, it's very easy to achieve that lineup as well. You just kind of give a love to Matt Collins was already kind of, well projected anyway, but we talked about him as being a great cash play. So if you just smash the love on Matt Collins, you pretty much, oh no, this is not right. Projection. I'm on the back test mode for the Domination Station Optimizer. And yeah, your first lineup with Matt Collins in there gets you a 146. So as long as or a final score of 155. So even just a very basic, just forcing in Matt Collins, which we talked about that we liked on the Domination Station. Even with Fournette and even with Montgomery and Diggs, who didn't have a great game, and Amon-Ra, who got hurt or didn't have a great game, it still worked out really well. So it was pretty easy to crush cash this week. Needed Mac in there or Zay or both, but it wasn't too difficult of a feat. Now, take a look at the Millie Maker lineup, because what we're going to do next is try to recreate the Millie Maker lineup using the Domination Station Optimizer backtest. And we're going to do it legit, meaning we're not going to cheat code it too much. Obviously, we're going to cheat it a little bit because we know the outcome, but I want to use the benefit of hindsight, but also kind of a normal run of the Domination Station to decipher this lineup. One really important note here. Once again, we have a total percent ownership lineup that's very, very low. And while I don't have it added up exactly, I can do some quick math. We got 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, 85%. So it looks like the big innovation for week 3 is to set our ownership cap. Basically, all the chalk failed. So we want to get away from chalk. So I'm going to set the ownership cap here at 90%. The other thing to note from week 3 was, of course, the stack that really crushed it was a stack of Lamar Jackson to Mark Andrews. We always do a single stack. Last week, we saw the return of the double stack with the bring back. And this week, we see that the double stack with the bring back did not work. So everybody laughed. It's funny. I got like these comments on the video last week about how I was shocked that a QB +2 with the bring back won a Millie Maker. Like, oh, Geek, you're an idiot. You don't know that went. Listen, I'm playing I'm playing chess. Those commenters are playing checkers. Okay. Of course I know that. We back test this every single week. All right. We've been back testing Millie Maker wins for multiple years. We look at the statistics, we dive in deep. And the trend last year was QB +1 with no bring back, even though the whole marketplace was talking about double stack, triple stack, team stacks, game stacks. We discovered that has not been working as frequently as people are using it. So the fact that it did work last week was a little surprising, and we had to observe. Well, if you take a look again right here, you'll see Jalen Hurts and no, this is not it. Wait a minute. Where is it? Yeah, here we go. We've got Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews. We have nothing from New England. There is no bring back. It's just a single stack. So the return of the single stack. And again, this has been a trend in Millie Maker wins. Don't want to buy it? Okay. This is what's been winning. Of course, Lamar Jackson can go bananas at any time. And I'm actually surprised. A bring back could have been just fine here with Devontae Parker. So it's not like a bring back wouldn't have worked. It just didn't. But it absolutely could have. And actually, I want to kind of run, Ramondre. If you had a bring back, I actually think it would have been better. So in fairness to all of this, a bring back would have worked just fine. We just didn't need it. So I don't know. what to do with that. But we can have a bring back here, or we can. As a matter of fact, we'll try a run without a bring back, and then we'll do one with a bring back. But what I'm going to do to cheat code this just a little bit is I'm going to stick with Lamar Jackson for these lineups. Normally I could just do a run of 150 and, put all the quarterbacks in there in stacks. But what's the point? We're trying to recreate the Millie Maker win. So let's do just a 50 lineup run to start. I haven't done much with the options yet. I just want to run some lineups and kind of see what happens on the first run. And then, of course, we're going to make a few adjustments that I have in mind, including an adjustment to get off the extreme chalk running backs, because you're going to see here in these early runs, it's going to look really ugly, because it's going to be all Fournette, all weird running backs. As a matter of fact, because we're limiting ownership so much, looks like it gave us a ton of Michael Carter of all people, which was not a great play. So what I'm going to do is just massively limit the chalk. So I have an idea here, right? We're going to sort by chalk and say, all right, Montgomery's going to be too chalky for tournaments. These 3 cash guys, let's leave them out of our tournament play. That's my first thought. Second thought is go to 0 RB in the flex. We knew going into the week that it was going to be a difficult week for running back in the flex. That's number 2. Take a look at what happened at tight end. Yeah, I don't allow this. So essentially on the first run, what the optimizer tried to do, this is really interesting, is force Isaiah Likely into lineups with Lamar. How interesting is that? What a strange, I guess it's because of the salary. So that's why we're getting not the best looking lineups. I'm going to rerun it here without those chalk running backs right off the bat, and without Isaiah Likely as this easy way off of Mark Andrews. We want to make sure we get a lot of Mark Andrews, as the winning stack was Lamar to Mark Andrews. Plus, who the hell's playing massive quantities of Isaiah Likely? Here we go. Lamar Jackson. So now we start to see the running back position come together. A lot of Panthers defense, Jaguars. Final fantasy points. Let's sort by final fantasy points here. Yeah, I mean, first run, guys, just to be clear of what just happened, first run, 211, win the Millie Maker. It took 1 run. All we needed to do is remove the chalkiest running backs, all 3 of them, stack Lamar Jackson, just run. Now, this is only 50. Normally could run 150, but our first run, take a look here. I mean, this is not, this is no joke. First run, 211. Wins the Millie. Now, there's a couple things we could have done to get even higher scores this week. One, of course, being a little higher on Dameon Pierce, but also forcing some exposure. So one of the other things that we talked about this week, like a guy that I liked a lot, and I talked about him on a lot of the shows that we did, was Robinson. James Robinson. I said no one's going to play this guy. He's sandwiched in between our chalk. So I'm going to put a 15% min on him. Let's see kind of who. Khalil Herbert we would never have played. But we did like Derrick Henry a little bit. Put a 15%er on him. Cordero I didn't love, but worthy of 10%. Like, what if we forced a couple of these low-owned running backs? Now, I wasn't going to play Devin Singletary, no way. But I did play some Ramondre, and I actually did play him in my lineups. So I'm going to include him a little bit. And that's about it there. At wide receiver, Devontae Smith was spectacular. Olave we could give a like to try to get these scores up. Devontae Parker was somebody we literally talked about before the slate. Smith was doing his thing. I liked Smith, but mostly with my Jalen Hurts stacks, and I think the defense is doing pretty well. So I'm just going to give it another run and see if we already won the Millie Maker. We hit a 211. The first run. I want to see how much higher of a score we could get with another run, making a few adjustments. But again, first run, you guys saw it. It just happened live on the screen. Easy Millie Maker win. Yeah, here we go. So with a few more adjustments, we got to 222. And again, that just blows away what won the Millie Maker. So again, a 210, we hit a 211 with our first run. So Domination Station Optimizer was right there. You needed basically needed to stack Lamar with Andrews. and have the Mac Hollins exposure that we already had, a lot of us. So there you have it. Millie Maker review. Another stack QB +1. Why did people leave Lamar and Mark Andrews 2% owned? You know what? You did that. You left them 2% owned. You left the money on the table. So going forward, I'm excited for NFL Week 4. Stick around. Make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. You'll have our FanDuel and DraftKings first look videos coming up shortly. For DFS Army VIP subscribers, today is Monday, and a little later on today, we will have our showdown breakdown exclusively for DFS Army subscribers, breaking down tonight's single game showdown between the Giants and the Cowboys. Exciting, kind of, not really. Kind of an ugly game, if I had to say anything. And so check that out. And if you're not subscribed to DFS Army, go now and just do it. Promo code GEEK gets you 10% off VIP, covers all sports. If you don't want to pay for subscriptions to DFS, you're really good at making your own projections. You're really great at whatever the hell it is that you think you can have an advantage playing a game for money without all the information in front of you. That's fine. At the very least, subscribe to the channel. You get all the info. Hit the notification bell so it lets you know when the next videos are coming out. That's going to do it for the NFL Week 3 Week in Review. I'll see you guys next time. Good luck.